Don't talk to the cops. And learn your rights.
Are you guys the pot lawyers?
Yes, we are.
So what do I do if a cop smells pot?
I will use a quote from an Instagram follower who called us undercover marijuana superheroes.
It's very important for us to be out there with the people.
We are the only attorneys out there at these festivals walking with the people and meeting and greeting and educating and medicating with them. So if you do have to deal with those cops, you will remember what we say.
To do it. The only ones with the balls to do it.
You can't talk over me. When he says, oh, what's that smell?
I don't want to discuss my day.
There you go. And if
That's right.
you say, I invoke the fifth.
Invoke the fifth?
You invoke the fifth, and then you shut the fuck up.
I'm Craig, the big brother.
I'm Mark, little brother.
And
we're the Pot Brothers at Law. Prior to getting into this cannabis business full time, I did criminal defense, family law.
I mainly did workers' compensation representation for injured workers.
We love cannabis, and we want everyone to have the same rights and be safe because of this police state we're in over cannabis.
It's a plant, for God's sakes. It's a plant.
By and large, people who come in, they're just unfortunate circumstances. They were charged with a crime. There's just way too much of that happening because people don't understand their rights.
In your case, you're not doing anything except growing how many plants for yourself?
I got about 80 plants growing.
Tell me why you need all that much for yourself.
Well, it's not all for myself.
Well, then, under the eyes of California law, you're a drug dealer.
My heart kind of sunk a little bit. I was like, ooh, shit.
I'm here to meet with the Pot Brothers to go over legalizing my grow operation.
You need to put these things in a locked trunk, smell-proof pouches, vacuum sealed. Even though you're legal, you still want to do all these things to avoid anything. You know, we're going to give you frank talk. We're not going to BS. And that's why I think we relate to these people.
You got to cut your hair and your beard because you're going to get profiled.
I'm sure I will, but that shit's not happening. If you don't want to fucking do it, then don't fucking do it. Okay? But if you're going to be in that car with anything on you, fucking dummy if you don't cut that shit off. So your wife has a husband, so your kids have a father that's not in jail.
You got one foot in the felony door just by deciding to be in this business. We're going to try to keep the other one out. If the other one gets hauled in there and you do what we say, you're going to have a defense.
Tell us what the fuck happened.
Basically, he came to the window, and the first thing he said was like, do I smell marijuana? Is that what you're doing tonight? When I got pulled over, they pulled me out the car without my permission. They searched my car.
Did they ever tell you you don't have to do this if you don't want to?
No.
The field sobriety test?
Never.
I mean, this is defendable.
So,
Mark and Craig, Pot Brothers at Law, here with your tip of the... Here with your tip of the day. Try not to cough.
If someone doesn't want to come to me as a lawyer because we smoke cannabis, then go talk to someone else. Would you rather have someone in a nice suit and tie who's all on Xanax?
And who doesn't particularly like cannabis, but is still going to represent you as a criminal?
Or who drank all night and has a hangover? The stereotype just has to come down.
What do you do when the cop asks you questions? Shut the fuck up!
People love getting high with their lawyers.
A slam poem by the Pot Brothers at Law.
Am I being detained or am I free to go? This is what to say. My lawyer tells me so. The cops are out there doing a job. Sometimes they must contain a mob.
A thankless job that saves many lives.
At their home are worried children, husbands, and wives. But does that give them the fucking right to stomp on my motherfucking rights?
So we are here for you, the cannabis community, to fight.
To let you know it's okay to just shut the fuck up when cops ask questions. Start with I'm not discussing my day. End with I invoke the fifth. These ain't suggestions. These are words to live by, to memorize. See, because it's not about the size of that cop's gun.
Because they want you to run.
So they can pull that macho gun and shoot you for fleeing the scene. Some cops are just plain mean. We must shut it off. Shut it down? Those feelings of anger that instantly come around when that cop has to show his power and his might without cause, without reason.
And we know they're not right.
We must remain calm. Keep the devil sleeping on the left shoulder. We must be cold, even colder.
Ice must flow through your veins to shut that heat.
The blood to rush your brain straight from your feet. When that cop disrespected you, cuz you wouldn't tell him what that fucking smell was. You wouldn't tell him what that smell was. What's that smell? What's that smell? You didn't tell him what that smell was. And he accuses you of a pot DUI because he absolutely knows that you buzzed.
But see, they can't tell and they don't know.
Only if you tell them so. Oh, officer, I smoked a joint a few hours ago.
Oh, officer, here's my medical record.
Officer, I'm a marijuana patient. I'm a marijuana patient, officer.
We live in America.
Prohibition still exists.
That cop's gonna do whatever he's gonna do.
50-50, he arrests you. Now you give us a chance. Give all attorneys a chance to represent you in court with a defense that's blazing. Let us show you in court we're amazing.
But we can only do that if you listen to our tips.
Now, let me see you move your lips. You know the drill. When the cops ask questions, we say,
I'm not discussing my day.
Am I being detained or am I free to go? I invoke the fifth.
Then you shut the fuck up.
It's all about what you say and what you do. We've given you the script. We are telling you what to say. We are telling you what to do. We've put your hands up in protection mode.
But should you take a shot to the jaw?
That's the end of round 2.
We will be here fighting for the cannabis community because we are the Pot Brothers at Law.
I'm out front of the courthouse steps in Murrieta with West Coast Native Growers, a properly set up cooperative corporation.
Definitely want to touch base on the whole 25-word script.
Hey, can you hear me?
A little bit later in the episode. For me, that I got educated on the Fifth Amendment through a YouTube video. Talking about the Fifth Amendment, and he started out explaining.
Hello?
A citizen, and so
Am I here? Am I on? Can you hear me?
Interesting to hear him talk about that, and yeah, so it was very educational for me to hear him go down the line and just list scenarios and the reasons of why average citizens should use and invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Oh, absolutely. People don't realize that you live and breathe with the Fifth Amendment right to not incriminate yourself, and that so many people are misinformed because of, I think, really TV and the movies, where you hear the officer say you have the right to remain silent, anything you can say will be used against you, and they think that's when the Fifth applies. And the fallacy with that is that's not accurate. That's when during a police stop, by law, they have to tell you that. Before they tell you that, as part of our script, you're invoking the Fifth. You're literally saying, I invoke the Fifth. And you don't have to.
Fuck. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. I just boop.
You potentially, anything you say or do can be used against you. So if you don't say it before then and just keep silent, that's not good enough.
Okay. I think your brother's trying to join the show. I've heard a couple of people asking if we can hear them. So
that's me.
I think that was my brother trying to butt in. He's late, so we really should just mute him. But that's okay.
Ha!
Okay.
I'm the star. I'm who everybody wants. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I had to get my young daughter set up for her Zoom acting class, so that's why I was a little late.
Okay, yeah, no problem, man, no problem. I appreciate you joining. So give the listeners a little bit of background. Like, Mark, I looked at, I didn't realize you were also an actor. And then I looked at your IMDb page, and you've got a long list of things that you've been in. So if you guys don't mind, just give everybody like a little rundown of how you ended up where you are now as lawyers.
Well, for me, I grew up as an actor in theater. That's really all I ever wanted to do and what I was doing. And at some point, I wanted to make my own movies, and I needed money for that. My big brother was doing very well as an attorney. He was already, I believe, 10 years in when I started. And I became an attorney I was young. I had been engaged. Needed money to support a family, starving actor, wasn't going to cut it. And I figured I could make money that way to finance plays and films I was writing. That's why I went to law school originally. And then when I got out in 1996 and became an attorney, that's the same year that Prop 215 was enacted in California and gave cannabis patients their rights. And I jumped right into criminal defense to start defending cannabis patients who were getting busted under these new laws that were in existence, which allowed patients to do certain things, but they were still getting arrested. It was a crime first, and then you had to show that you were a patient under the law doing things properly. And it's still kind of that way today, even with quote unquote legalization, as we can get into that later. But that's how I segued into law. Let my big brother tell you how he did his.
Yeah, big brother here. Really, it's kind of funny. I couldn't do math or science, didn't like school very much, and really couldn't do math or science in school. Wasn't a great student. And I fell in junior high into this class, deputy in the law, and it kind of stuck in the back, I think, of my brain. And as I went through college, there was really nothing else I could do. And I excelled. I went to UCLA undergrad, and I took some upper division political science courses. I ended up being a poli-sci major because it's arguing. It's arguing whether your point's right or wrong. I did speech and debate, and ultimately realized that law school was the way to go. And I'd taken some upper division constitutional law classes at the time. And I was just primed, ready for law school, and that was it. And there it was. I became an attorney, went to work for a insurance companies doing defense, defending personal injury cases, business litigation. Then I actually fell into doing work comp law, where I represented injured workers, which was really fighting for the little guy. And that's going to carry over when my brother and I eventually kind of merged our practices. It went hand in hand with representing people wrongfully accused, people on the wrong side of police misconduct, and it just kind of grew from there. So, but that's literally how and why I became an attorney. Was I couldn't do math or science.
And then I remember when I was in high school, one of the things I wanted to look at becoming was a lawyer. That dream never came into fruition because, and not to get all melancholy or whatever, but I just never had anybody motivate me towards that direction. So it just kind of became a thought in my mind and then went away. But speaking to the point of fighting for the little guy, I very much root for the underdog in just about every scenario of life. And I love to debate. I love to argue. So I just, everything about that has always kind of intrigued me, and I kind of read about it from afar. So it's pretty fascinating to see how you guys segued into that, especially, you saying you weren't any good at math and science. My son and I were watching something last night, and a lady kicked in the percentage of whatever it was she had won, and I just looked at him, and I'm 44 years old, and I looked at him and I said, "Man, I wish I could do that." And he made me feel like a moron, and he didn't mean to. He didn't mean it the way it came off, but he was like, "Pop, it's not that hard." Yeah, I was like, "Well, maybe."
I gotta shout out my parents and our dad specifically, because what you said about being motivated. He didn't necessarily. He has 3 sons. An older brother, me, and my younger brother, and both my younger brother and I are attorneys, and my older brother's a doctor. And,
awesome.
And what he always said was, and it was funny because it really wasn't be a lawyer. It was do something, because he worked for a big aerospace engineer for 30 years and always felt under the thumb, and always worried about getting laid off. And he would push us to whatever you do, whether it's a mechanic or whether it's an attorney, do something where you can hang your own shingle.
I'm here to meet with the Pot Brothers.
Yeah. And that kind of stuck with us. So, 30 years ago, I started doing, I worked for myself for that long because I couldn't stand working for these big firms I worked for. Actually, I worked for them 5 years before I went out on my own.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of motivating your kids to follow their dreams or to do what their passion is. My son wants to be a video game designer, and I've done everything within my power to make that dream a reality for him. I help motivate him. I help steer him in the right direction, help find little things that will help make his dream a reality. So, much respect to your parents for doing that. I definitely believe that's a big part of being a parent is trying to help your kid find their path in life. So, how did you guys decide to get into becoming pot brothers at law?
Want me to take that one?
I mean, it's funny you mentioned, pushing your kids to their dreams, and it kind of segues into this where my brother had already been doing criminal defense work for quite a while, and my son, who now has one of the biggest cannabis brands in California, if not across the country by name because he's only in California, came to us and said that he wanted to grow plants for patients. This is back under when it was just patients and caretakers. And we said, well, if you're going to do it, it's still a felony first, but you can defend it if you do it right under these certain set of laws. And so we set him up correctly. We had him, he was growing like 24 plants in a small home that he had. And that's kind of how we got into, we're going to learn marijuana. Even though I've been smoking, I'm 59 this year, and I've been smoking over 40 years. And so when he came to us, and we'd already had medical. I don't even think I had my card yet. It's kind of like, and I've been smoking that long, and we went to school for it to set him up properly. That's kind of how we got into the weed part. Mark, you can add, which subsequently led to getting him off of 4 felonies, 2 different occasions because of the cannabis activities he was doing over the years prior to it becoming quote unquote legalized.
Okay. Now, that's something that's always kind of fascinated me. Myself, I'm not a smoker. Just because I don't like smoking, and I live in a state also where it's not legal. So if I wanted to have edibles, there's an illegal route you have to go through.
Where are you?
But I'm in Georgia.
Okay, it's one of the 3 states, I believe: Georgia, Kansas City, and Nebraska.
No, it's Nebraska. Georgia has some form of. Georgia's doing something on some level of cannabis, and it could just be CBD. Let me check. But the 3 that are outstanding, I believe, are Idaho, Nebraska, and Kansas.
Okay.
That have absolutely nothing. Let me here. Go ahead, Craig. Keep talking. I'm going to check on Georgia really quick.
Yeah, I believe, and while you check on Georgia, I believe Georgia's laws do allow for medicinal marijuana up to a certain level, but it's really weird. It's really weird because you can't have it shipped to you,
right?
And you can't go across state lines to get it. So the law that they have in place, as the state is concerned, is pretty much null and void, if I understand that law correctly. And then here in the Atlanta area, I believe the city of Atlanta itself passed a law that under a certain amount of ounces, it's no longer a misdemeanor. Like you're not ticketed or arrested or anything.
Yeah,
so
that's when you hear the word decriminalization, that's usually what it means. It means something that would be a misdemeanor, and you go to jail, you go to court. Now it's like a traffic ticket.
Gotcha.
Which is a great first step. Which is it's a good first step.
Georgia allows medical CBD for certain.
I just learned this. That's called Delta 9, which is hemp derived. So it's not cannabis derived. It's hemp derived, but it still has a higher level of THC than what's called your full spectrum CBDs, which have under federal law is legal if it's 0.3% or less of THC content. That's what we see being shipped all over the country under the Farm Bill that lo and behold McConnell pushed because Kentucky probably needed it. But that was a great move too. That took it off. That was on the schedule list up until just a few years ago. CBD that had no psychoactive effect at all, none whatsoever, was still a felony.
Now I do use CBD gummies from time to time, so I'm familiar with that. But one thing that does fascinate me about states that have moved towards legalization of not just medical marijuana use but recreational. How does that work if you're in a state where it's legal for medical and recreational, but federally it's still illegal? How does that balance work?
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk. Well, I mean, so when you're so for California, right? If you're in California and you're on federal land, right? Like in a federal park or a federal courthouse parking lot or something like that, any kind of federal land, federal law is going to control while you are on that federal land. So we get people in California who might get a citation, but it's a federal citation for possession. And that's still a crime. If you get caught by the state police, city, county, those we have defenses for because it's not legal. So, just a blanket statement about quote unquote legalization. It's not legal anywhere. And that's just not federal. That's state law. In every state, even these ones where they say it's legal, it's decriminalized, it's legalized to a point. So you can have, like in California, you can possess as an adult up to 1 ounce. If you have more than an ounce, now you're looking at a misdemeanor. And in still some cases, you could still be hit with felonies. And that's the way it is all over the state that have medicinal laws or adult use laws. They're to a point. So it's not going to be fully legal until it's completely legalized and nobody's getting arrested for it. And it spills over. A lot of the arrests we see are at the airport at LAX because people come here from other places, and they even come from other places where they have medical, and they're like, I have my medical card over there. I'm going to go get one over here in California, which you're really not even supposed to have unless you're a resident, but you can get them like water. And then they go to legal licensed shops, make purchases, and throw it in their bags and take off, and then get arrested, and they're looking at felonies. And they legitimately, oh, I thought it was okay. And you have very few states, like I believe Colorado and Nevada, they have signs at the airport, here, no questions asked, dump all your cannabis right here. And they have places where you can drop it off, but few and far between. LAX doesn't have that, and I think a lot of other places don't. So it's a big problem, especially people who are traveling.
And what's even worse is LAX put out a policy that they really don't care if you have an ounce or so or an ounce or less. They put out some memo that that's not what they're looking for. But if they find pounds and stuff, that's a different story. So people heard that thinking, okay, even if it's under an ounce, and they fly into Kansas City thinking, okay, no problem, and they get busted on the other end. So people have to really know when you fly with your weed, you're taking a risk. If it's under a certain amount, most likely you're not going to have an issue, but you always could. We've had a guy got busted for a joint.
Yeah.
In Houston, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah. No, he left. No, it was he left LAX fine, and he had a pretty big joint, maybe his an eighth or something like that. And then he landed. It was Super Bowl weekend in Atlanta when Super Bowl was in Atlanta, and he got pulled off right when he landed. Got busted. Dog sniffed something out, and he got busted in Atlanta.
Yeah, I just saw your video the other day about educating people on having possession and carrying it within airports and everything. So I kind of figured that would be a no-brainer, that people would kind of know that that's a no-no.
No, a lot of people don't.
That's what they might say though, but it's really like you really had 10 ounces, really? You really thought that was okay?
Okay.
It is what it is, but we've been fairly successful in getting those things dropped or diverted if someone does have a medical rec on the other side, even though it really technically isn't a defense.
Okay. Now, starting a dispensary in a state where you can do that, what sort of mandates and regulations, and I know you can't cover all of them, obviously for time's sake, but what sort of basic mandates and regulations do dispensaries have to adhere to kind of stay away from like federal raids and things like that?
Well, first of all, under a rider to the federal spending bill that is still in effect, the Department of Justice can't go after state licensed compliant businesses in states where it is legal. Now, if they go outside, if they're trafficking something outside the system, the feds theoretically can still come in. They can still come in and bust one that's licensed and allege. So there's still federal. Every time we do a contract with a client, a retainer, it's like, this is legal here and under these guidelines, but it's still federally legal, and you're subject to arrest at any time. But so that aside, the state guidelines in almost every state. Now we only do California, and California is probably one of the worst. Without going through, like you said, all the regulations, all I can tell you is that there's 3 sets of regulations: one for cultivation, one for manufacturing, and one for all the others, which is distribution, retail, non-delivery, non-storefront, which is a delivery service, distribution, transportation. It's a whole other set of regulations, and they're a couple inches thick each one. They're, to put it bluntly, and I won't get on my soapbox.
Go.
Over-regulated, overburdened, overtaxed, that they're just allowing the illicit market to thrive. It's absolutely ludicrous how they have it. It's really set up for big companies, because when someone comes into our office, unlike the old days before regulations, when it was a crime first, legal second, if you set up and did what we said, you could defend it, no problem. They could come into our office for 10, 20, 30 grand, get set up for a legal business, have us on retainer for a year, and have their legal business set up and ready to go. Now, when you come into our office, Do you have $500,000? Do you have 250? I mean, it's heartbreaking, really. We actually had to call ourselves Dream Busters the first year or two of regulations because it was like, I mean, they just came out. We were just reading them when everybody else did, and it was, and the fees and the cities want their percent, and they want a percent off the gross profit. They want a percent off the gross profit, and then the state has insane excise tax, which to me is really a sin tax, which we're not supposed to have those. You know, where you're taxing the sin, and that's how it's taxed. It's almost ultimately depends on the city you're in, and what you're paying the city and the state, and all the way to the consumer. You're looking at upwards of 40 to 45% effective tax.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's one thing I've always said. Like I said, I don't smoke myself, but I've been a proponent since I got older and got educated, got informed about things. I've always been a proponent for an advocate for the legalization of recreational marijuana use. But I've always told people who fight for it or what have you, that be prepared that if it does happen, it's going to be taxed to death. It's going to be regulated to death, and it's going to be it's going to be a hassle because the government's not going to let you have anything quote unquote for free. So
they're making it so difficult on the regulated businesses. My sons have a large manufacturing distribution business, and it's so hard on how the government's doing it. And the problem is, unfortunately, that maybe this will change soon, but I don't know, is that the reason most politicians jump on board is not because it's the right thing to do. It's not because no matter if you call it recreational, which we don't like that term. A lot of states use that term. It's really adult use, which is a term the Californians have for it under their laws is adult use, which we agree, because no matter when you take cannabis, you are self-medicating. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It could be, we just literally interviewed Carlos Santana, believe it or not, and he uses it to open his mind and play his music and write music. And, you know, so it's not just because you're self-medicating isn't a bad thing. As long as you do it responsibly and all that kind of stuff. But so I got off on a tangent. You go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's why I wanted you guys on, because I'm largely uneducated about this. So this is definitely like me sitting in a schoolroom right now. I deal with severe depression and anxiety and social anxiety, and I've had more than one or two people suggest to me self-medicating. Again, you're looking at a state that it's not legal, and I just don't like smoking.
But you know what? I'll tell you this. I've been smoking for 40-something years, and we have our Cannabis Talk 101 show we're co-hosts on, and we've interviewed numerous scientists, doctors, people who are self-taught, and regarding CBD. So for you and your listeners, like I said earlier, there's hemp-derived and cannabis-derived. Hemp-derived normally comes out under 3% THC, which means it has absolutely no psychoactive effect on you, which is what you're taking now.
Right.
That's most likely what you're taking.
Yeah.
And the value of that, some say that a little bit of the THC, even a higher percent than the hemp, you start getting into the cannabis derived, you can now get like 1-to-1, 10 CBD to 1 THC. So you have a little more in there than the hemp derived because of the concert effect. Scientists have told us that the cannabinoids in your cannabinoid system and your cannabinoid receptors that everybody has in their body, that medicine never taught doctors about. I mean, this goes back millions of years, I believe, in this herb being used for medicine. So the CBD, I just literally started taking some myself because I've been getting some kind of neuropathy in my toes, and it wouldn't go away no matter what. Doctors didn't know what it was. I didn't want to take any kind of pills because they didn't know what it was. And I finally said, you know what? Randomly went into a store in Vegas, a brand new CBD store in a mall on the Strip in a hotel. And I bought some, and my toes have gone from an 8 down to a 2.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And
yeah,
non-psychoactive can be just as good. So take it.
Okay. Yeah, I've had good experiences with it. It's helped me. I noticed that I'm sleeping a little bit better. Any sort of my anxiety is in addition with other medications that I take, my anxiety is down a bit. And on a personal level, just some things I've gone through this year alone. From then till now, I'm in a much better place than I was, say, 6 months ago. So yeah, I've definitely felt the effects of it. And I also saw, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, but I also saw where DC, what was on the ballot in DC was the medical use of, was it psychocobin?
The mushrooms.
Thank you. I couldn't see the word, but thank you. Yeah, where they're trying to get that introduced into therapy, and
It was last year too. I believe Oregon was the first to decriminalize it, small amounts, and they were pushing microdosing as a therapeutic, just like weed. It's the same principle that microdosing, it has all kinds of medicinal effects. I couldn't tell you that. I'm not a doctor, and I don't recall the article I read, but I mean, Oregon went so far too. This is, I think, great, as they decriminalized all drugs.
Yeah, I saw that. That was going to be one of my questions here. I couldn't remember which state it was, so thank you. But
Oregon.
Yeah, I saw where they decriminalized all drugs, and they're moving towards a more what's the word I'm looking for? Rehab. Thank you. Look at it, instead of jail time, helping people, which I think is awesome. I think it's largely unfair that you take a person who has a dependency issue and you put them in an environment that only furthers that dependency.
You criminalize it. I mean, you criminalize the conduct, and it's just people have issues, whatever the reason is, they should get help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially, possession. I think it's mainly possession. So if someone's just possessing it, they're not stealing, they're not robbing somebody, and even them, they should go to jail and get help. They should get specific help for that problem, because most people who clean up pretty damn good. They should have better programs for that as well. But for just simple possession, just for having it on you, people go do work just to get their drug money. I mean, it's sad. So I think that the decriminalizing possession is huge, and I think the whole country should do it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that as well, and I think a lot of the problem for the biggest part of the population of this country is that they're uneducated. They hear the word decriminalization of all drugs, and they think that everybody just wants to use heroin, crack, and everybody's
going to run amok.
Right, and they don't understand, and that's why I challenge. If you're listening to this show, get educated.
You know what's funny about that statement is there's been plenty of studies. Can't cite one, but I know I've read a bunch where in the states that have legalized cannabis, youth use has gone down.
Wow.
So go figure. It's just it's just like still in California. The legalization initiative left it to the cities to enact or still ban cannabis activities. And we still have probably 2/3 of the cities in the entire state of California that is not allowing cannabis activities still. Under the impression it's going to bring crime and this and that, and with the regulations and the security measures you have to have, there's been studies done where the property values around licensed storefronts go up, crime goes down. All that stuff is reverse of what the reefer madness mentality still is out there today. Even though we've got 47 states that have some form of adult use or medical cannabis, that's still there.
Yeah, I know. For me, one of the eye-opening things for me was to hear a family member who is a recovering drug addict and alcoholic tell me that even as a recovering addict, that they believe that if alcohol is legal in this nation, that marijuana absolutely should be. And that kind of that's what really got me to doing research, because for me, if an addict is saying that, like a hardcore addict is saying that, then there's some wisdom to that. So I just started doing my research and became educated, and I saw the benefits versus everything that people tell you is a detriment. There's a former coworker of mine whose spouse had cancer, and nothing was giving their spouse any sort of relief from the pain. And eventually he turned to marijuana. And like you said, his pain went from, say, 10 to 2. And
we have a real good friend of ours. He's actually an awesome musician, the Sober Junkie. And he's been off of heroin. I think we need him on his 5th anniversary, or
well, yeah, he's been off now like 6 years.
Had to get stronger medicine. They cut him off. He went to heroin, and that's how he got his addiction. And actually, cannabis has brought him back to life.
Awesome. Yeah, he was in jail. He did time in the shoe and solitary, all over drugs.
Mark, drugs. Can you talk closer to the mic, or is it just my audio?
I don't know. Can you? Everyone else hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck if my brother hears me. Go shut up. You hear me every day.
So yeah, we could talk about that stuff for hours. I mean, it's insane that the benefits are there, and just still the federal government, whose representatives, even before the election, states have said we want this, and they still haven't changed it at the federal level. I'm praying that it happens. It happens very, very soon, and it might. So we'll see what happens. But we're still just fighting it at this level. And it's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it's all of our in this crazy day and age, all of our shut the fuck up stuff. Going back to that, fighting for patients' rights. And we saw the disproportionate impact on the minority community way before all this stuff in the news. We've been fighting for that for years, as far as, police profiling, people talking and getting themselves in trouble, and the more people we can reach on that level, we were really fortunate and blessed to have our Instagram just go crazy when we kind of fell ass backwards onto Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, I encourage everybody that's listening to the show, if you don't follow these gentlemen online, please do. You'll get a kick out of their videos, but you'll also get educated in the process. I know I certainly did in the short time I've been following you guys. Now, talking about the legalization, nationwide, I've always told people, I live in the South. I'm from the South, born and raised here. I'm happy to be from the South. I love it here, but we are so far behind the times on just about everything that everybody else goes through. And do you guys see from your perspective, and of course from the legal side, do you guys see at any point in, say, our lifetime, the nationwide legalization and decriminalization of marijuana?
Depends what happens to Mitch McConnell. Depends what happens.
Say that again?
It depends what happens to Mitch McConnell. Hey, Big, I think there's 2 more races that we still have to decide who's going to control the Senate. And if the Democrats take over the Senate, then we're going to see federal legalization very soon.
Okay.
If that doesn't happen, then we're never going to see it until Mitch McConnell is out of here.
Because you got to remember, the House of Representatives last year passed the States Act and the MORE Act. Those were both cannabis-related acts that would have taken it off the schedule list, allowed for banking, all this other stuff, and it died on the floor of the Senate because Mitch McConnell just can put it there. That's how politics work.
Yeah, I've seen some of his comments on it, and it's just there's not even.
I mean, Georgia came close. I haven't been watching the news. Did Georgia go Trump?
Yeah. Now
you haven't watched the news. He's been elected president. You didn't see this?
No, I know that.
Oh,
yeah. I had to detach myself. Like I'm heavily involved. I've got a very loud voice when it comes to politics. I don't subscribe to either party, but even I was amazed that Georgia turned blue. Like that totally blew my mind.
Yeah, that was Killer Mike.
My question,
Killer
my
Mike had a
question
lot
was,
to
since
do
I
with
went
that
to
out
bed
in
last
Georgia.
night, and this morning I woke up and all that's on the TV is Biden's elected president. It didn't show me how Georgia ultimately went.
Yeah, Georgia. Well, they haven't called Georgia yet. I don't think they called Pennsylvania.
No, Georgia hasn't been called yet. The percentage right now, if you look at the maps, the percentage of votes right now, it shades the state blue. But it's last I looked, I mean, there were only like a handful of votes separating the two.
You know what? Even if it doesn't go blue completely, the fact that Georgia was that close shows you the power of the people. Period.
Yeah.
Because I've argued with other people, not necessarily Trumpies or not necessarily, just, more conservative Republican like we used to know, just, I'm fiscally this and that. And it never was this kind of a divide ever before. And they're going, well, yeah, Trump was up in all these states and now he's down. What's going on? Like something has to be happening. I go, yeah, what's happening is all those people who never voted before got off. And this is what we used to tell everybody with weed issues on the ballot: get off your ass and voice your opinion and vote. Every vote does count. And I think hopefully this will open the eyes up of those millions of people who never voted before to continue to vote, because it obviously does make a difference.
Hey, so in Georgia right now, there's 99% of the votes are in, and Biden's up by like 7,000 and change.
Yeah, it's something really small, and then that's what I was going to say. If you look at the state of Georgia, if you look at a breakdown of the state prior to it shading blue, there were really only 3 regions in Georgia that were blue. You've got the Columbus area, which is near the Alabama line. You've got the city of Atlanta and Fulton County, DeKalb County, and all that, and then you've got out near Augusta, which is at the South Carolina border, and then you've got down in the southeastern corner of the state in the Savannah area. Those were really the only regions in Georgia that were absolutely blue. And to get off on a little, a little bit of a political rant myself, I told friends of mine who are conservative and Republican that I don't think it's so much that the Democrats just came out of the woodwork for this election. I think a lot of the problem is there were a lot of Republicans that were just not happy with Donald Trump, and they switched their vote.
And that's also what I'm telling people. It's such a referendum against him because you've got all those people, because you still have. I mean, I believe they believed that the Senate was going to flip a lot easier than the race is right now. I think right now, last I looked, I think the Democrats might have been up 1 seat.
Is it not? Right, here, I'll look.
I thought I saw 48-47 the other day. I forget. Arizona came in with the Democratic senator. It's...
here we go. 48-48.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this has been a tight one, man.
Yeah, I think there's going to be 2 runoffs, but... Yeah.
So to kind of jump back on the conversation we were having about marijuana, I've seen a lot of articles written, friends post, and things like that about the move into decriminalization and dispensaries and things like that. Like you said, alluded to earlier, major corporations making money off of this. Is there any, in California specifically, is there any sort of move or any sort of bill in place or anything in place now to look at possibly overturning convictions for people that were involved in nonviolent possession cases?
Yeah, so
go ahead, Mark.
In California, since the passage of Prop 64, that which changed and turned all of your basic cannabis felonies into misdemeanors,
or no crime.
Well, felonies to
sold
misdemeanors, misdemeanors to infractions, infractions to no crime. So it goes down the list depending on what you're charged with. But those who were charged with those crimes in the past now had a vehicle by way of motion, which it's unfortunate that at the state level they created this law, but they didn't mandate that it happened automatically, that your record is automatically expunged or it's automatically reduced, because you can get that felony reduced to a misdemeanor, that misdemeanor expunged, reduced down to an infraction and all that stuff. But in most cities and counties, you have to physically get assertive, get an attorney, and file the proper motion and paperwork to get that to happen. Now
some cities,
San
have
Francisco,
gone forth and purged the records.
Yeah,
and,
I was getting there. San Francisco was one of them that automatically do it, and so that's how it is here. So we're able to get felonies reduced and crimes expunged off their record and dismissed because of the change in the law. And most states that have gone that route have some sort of vehicle, although, like I said, it should just be an automatic thing. They should just go in and purge the fucking system because they have all the records, but that's how it is in California.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah, because I think that, I'm like you, I think that should be kind of a given, an automatic, but because it's unfortunate that you pass a law and there's still people paying the cost for something that is now illegal. And it just, without going into a whole big thing about the justice system and the lack of parity and all of that, but I think it would just help free up a lot of the backlog that's in the legal system, and it just paves the way for a lot better situation as it relates to the legal system and justice system.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely. And and to segue into the script, I think on one of our posts you made a comment, and I want to address it. I don't know if it was you or we get it all the time regarding who the script works for and who it doesn't work for.
That was actually the people who are interviewing us next on we're doing a podcast right after this one.
Okay.
I got the comments backwards, but you know what? It's still a good thing for us to preach a little bit about that. We get minorities who say, we get it a lot that, here we are, two white guys, and easy for us to say to the cop, I'm not discussing my day. Am I being detained? Am I free to go? If I'm being detained, I invoke the fifth. And then if they actually detain you, then you don't say it to them. You shut the fuck up. And we've gotten more DMs across the country in the Deep South from people who say, thank you very much, because we preach being polite about it. Knowing your rights is not a crime. And
absolutely.
And, we're told, well, yeah, if that was me, I'd get ripped out of the car and beat. And our response usually is, if that guy's going to pull you out of the car and beat you, it's probably not going to be because you've given him the script. And if it is because he's giving you the script, with all the film and cameras these days, we're going to have a great case that you did nothing to provoke. Because that's the biggest problem right now is our Supreme Court laws that allow officers to use that excuse, I was provoked, so easily. That's why, unfortunately, so many of these cops get off.
Well, it's not I was provoked. It was there's a danger to my life. There's something in the car. There's a gun in the car, or there might be a weapon.
So when you stick to the script, the worst, most likely is you get arrested. And people need to know that the script is not there for you not to get arrested. So let's get arrested. Oh, the script didn't work. No, that's not what it's for. What it's for is the guy who hit us up after 8 hours in jail because he invoked the script, got taken in. They had nothing on him. He didn't say. He wouldn't talk. And that's usually where the cops get. If they're talking to you, assume they have nothing on you, and that's what they want to get is something on you. That's why it's so important to not discuss your day, because you don't want to lie to an officer about anything. Where are you going? What you're doing? Your last drink? What'd you have? How many? You don't want to lie, so I'm not discussing my day.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I saw in the video that I watched of another attorney talking about the fifth. He went through several scenarios of just innocent things you say that can automatically be turned and used against you to create doubt.
Yep. And create reason for them to have probable cause to start searching your car.
Right.
You know, when you start talking, that's the big danger. You start saying things, you don't know what you're saying, and then boom, now you've cut into any defenses that we might have. That's what we say as criminal defense attorney. The more you talk, it's like I can start ticking away. Oh, now we lost that possible defense that I could have mounted. You know, now that one's gone. You know, now we can't attack the search anymore because you consented. You know, or you left a pipe laying out in plain view. You know, you could go down the list. So that's why it is so important to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, guys, I know you mentioned you got another show to do, and I don't want to take up all your time. So in closing up everything, I want to run through the script real quick just for the people that haven't heard it, but I also want to give you guys plenty of time to plug your social media platforms, to plug your practice, and close out with anything you guys would like to say. Before we do that, though, I want to thank you guys once again for giving me this opportunity to talk to you guys and to get educated. So a heartfelt thank you and a heartfelt much appreciation for you guys being on the show today.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
all right. You want to do the script, Mark? Let's do it.
All right. So did you do a little explanation of it in the very beginning at all, or 25?
No, really super small. Nutshell.
Okay. So this is called the script. It's the only 25 words that you want to use when the cops are asking you questions. And we do this review every Friday for what is now known as Shut the Fuck Up Friday. And so it goes, Big Brother, what do you say when the cops first pull you over?
Why'd you pull me over?
And then they start asking you questions, any question at all. What do you say?
I'm not discussing my day.
And when they try to scare and intimidate you and threaten you and lie to you and ask you more questions, what do you say?
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
And if detained, what do you say?
I invoke the fifth.
And then what do you do?
I shut the fuck up.
And that is the script. And the other thing we encourage, and I do this every day on
and never consent.
And always film the police. So it's this. So this is the little mantra. Stick to the script, shut the fuck up, never consent to searches, and always film the police.
All right. There you have it, folks. This has been an interview with the Pot Brothers at Law, Mark and Craig Wasserman. Guys, once again, thank you. And take as much time as you need to plug your practice and to say anything to the listeners you would like to say.
Go ahead, Mark. You sign off.
All right. Anything we like to say. All right. Here we go. This might take a minute. All right. So if you want to check out our website, popbrothersatlaw.com is our main website. We also have a website for our Shut the Fuck Up and Pop Brothers at Law gear, stickers, shirts, hashtag STFU stuff, P-Ball merch, PBAL merch.com. And of course, all of the social media, we're on every single social media platform. On our big one, Instagram is pot_brothers_at_law. And you can find us on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Pot Brothers at Law, on TikTok, Pot Brothers at Law with all underscores. And on Twitter, it's the WAS Law. And if you have legal issues and need some help, our toll-free line is 855-WAS-LAW, 855-WASSLAW. And while we are California attorneys and we handle cases all over California, we can potentially refer you to attorneys we may know across the country and in some cases other countries. We have built a nice referral network of attorneys we've met through social media. So 855-WAS-LAW. You can also catch some of our live streaming every now and again on Twitch, Pot Brothers at Law on Twitch TV, and our podcast, Cannabis Talk 101, which drops new episodes every day, Monday through Friday on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast. And we are the first cannabis-related podcast that is partnered with a major media conglomerate, iHeartMedia. We are partners with them with the Cannabis Talk 101 podcast, with myself, my brother, Blue, and Big Joe Grande. We get into all sorts of educational material with regards to cannabis and just everything cannabis. As we say, it's kind of like the CNN, the View of cannabis shows. And it's a real fun one. We encourage everyone to check that out. And the last thing that I'll do, I'll invite my brother to leave because I'm sure he will once he hears what I have to say.
I don't think he has the time.
Well, before the pandemic hit, we went all over to conventions and expos all across the country. And one of the things I did while we were educating the script, another way that we've taught it is this slam poem. And I would perform it on stages across the country. And when the pandemic hit, started doing it online a little more, and been offering it up in these interviews as just one more way to help solidify and ingrain in your mind to shut the fuck up when cops ask questions. So if you have like 2 minutes and 55 seconds left, I can give that to you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. It's called, Am I Being Detained or Am I Free to Go? Am I being detained or am I free to go? This is what to say. My lawyer tells me so. The cops are out there doing a job. Sometimes they must contain a mob, a thankless job that saves many lives. At their home are worried children, husbands, and wives. But does that give them the right to stomp on my rights? So we are here for you, the cannabis community, to fight, to let you know it's okay to just shut the fuck up when cops ask questions. You start with, I'm not discussing my day, end with, I invoke the fifth. These ain't suggestions. These are words to live by, to memorize. See, it's not about the size of that cop's gun, because they want you to run, so they can pull that macho gun and shoot you for fleeing the scene. Some cops are just plain mean. We must shut it off, shut it down, those feelings of anger that instantly come around when that cop has to show his power and his might without cause, without reason, and we know they're not right. We must remain calm, keep the devil sleeping on the left shoulder. We must be cold, even colder. Ice must flow through your veins to shut that heat, the blood that rushed your brain straight from your feet when that cop disrespected you, because you wouldn't tell him what that smell was. And he accuses you of a pot DUI because he absolutely knows that you're buzzed. But see, they can't tell and they don't know. Only if you tell them so. Oh, officer, I smoked a joint a few hours ago. Oh, officer, here's my medical rec. Officer, I'm a marijuana patient. We live in America. Prohibition still exists. That cop's going to do whatever he's going to do. 50-50, he arrests you. Give us a chance to represent with a defense that's blazing. Let us show you in court we're amazing. But we can only do that if you listen to our tips. Now let me see you move your lips. You know the drill. When the cops ask questions, we say, I'm not discussing my day. Am I being detained or am I free to go? I invoke the fifth, and then you shut the fuck up. It's all about what you say and what you do. We have given you the script. We are telling you what to say. We are telling you what to do. We put your hands up in protection mode, but should you take a shot to the jaw, we will be here fighting for the cannabis community because we are the Pot Brothers at Law.
All right. Oh, man, I like it. I like it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys again. I've said it 100 times, man. I just can't thank you. This was a major opportunity for me. I'm just a small podcast. And for you guys, having the presence that you have on social media and in the legal community, doing the work that you do, the activist work that you do on behalf of the cannabis community, to take time out, to take an hour out of your day to help me, a small podcast show, it's humbling. And I can't say thank you enough for it.
Our pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for you do as
Happy
well,
to
man.
do
You stay
it.
healthy and good.
100%. And you know, that's the way social media works. I can't recall. It came through Snapchat. I had a Snapchat follower. We corresponded, and I know that's how And then I looked into your podcast. I thought it was really interesting, and it was fantastic. It was very nice to meet you, and we had a great time.
Very nice to meet you guys all. There you have it, everybody. The Pot Brothers at Law, thank you for joining the show. As always, I'm going to end the show the way I always end it. Find somebody that you don't know and just do something nice for them. I don't care what it is. Do something nice for them, not expecting anything in return. That's how we make this world better, one good act at a time. Craig, Mark, thank you guys. Have a great day, and hope to speak to you again soon.
Likewise. Thank you very much, my friend.
Absolutely. You have a great weekend, my friend.
Stay safe.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. That was Wrestling with My Thoughts. Let's see. It's noon. We're back in 1 hour. 1 hour with one more podcast. It's called the one white guy and one black guy podcast. Starts at 1 p.m. So come back at 1 p.m. We'll see you in an hour.